They gave her the spare room, the one at the back of the compound where no windows faced the street, the one with a single bed and a ceiling fan that worked only half the time. She stayed because she had nowhere to go. And she stayed because even now, some part of her believed they would come around, that the coldness was temporary, that it was shock, that tomorrow or the day after, one of her daughters would knock on that door and no one knocked. Every evening she could hear them from her room, laughter, the sound of a television, Stella's voice rising and falling with warmth, the sounds of a family, her family. No one knocked. Every evening she could hear them from her room, laughter, the sound of a television, Stella's voice rising and falling with warmth, the sounds of a family. Her family. She ate alone, she slept alone, she woke in the night and lay in the dark listening to the compound breathe. And she began, piece by piece, to understand something that no mother should ever have to understand. That the people you carry inside you, the ones you brought into the world, the ones you stayed alive for through every dark season, they can look at you one day and decide that you were never worth the wait. 3 weeks after her return, Ifunanya went to sleep. And she did not wake up. The doctor said it was cardiac arrest, but the people in that compound, the ones who had known her, who had watched what happened over those 3 weeks, they had their own name for what had killed her. A broken heart. She was 51 years old. She had come home cured. She died anyway.
The funeral was quiet. The daughters wore black and received condolences with faces that knew the right expressions to make. People said the right things. The burial happened. The canopies came down. And the morning after the last mourner left, Stella changed. It was Ada who noticed first. She came downstairs to find no breakfast prepared. Stella was seated in the living room, legs crossed, phone in hand, unbothered. "Stella, there's no food." "Do I look like your house girl?" Ada blinked. "Excuse me?" Stella put her phone down slowly and looked at Ada with the eyes of a woman who had been playing a part for a very long time and had decided at last to stop. "You heard me." Within days, the warmth was gone. Stella cooked only for herself. She moved through the house like a stranger. She spoke to the daughters in short, clipped sentences when she spoke to them at all. When Kamsi tried to ask her what was wrong, she laughed, a short, hollow laugh, and walked away. The father said nothing. He seemed smaller somehow, diminished, as if he had been running on something borrowed and had finally run out. Ada's instincts, sharpened by years of working in a sector where people wore faces that hid agendas, told her something was very wrong. She began to investigate. She went first to Stella's registration documents, the paperwork filed at the family meeting before the marriage. She looked up the address of the orphanage listed as Stella's childhood residence. The orphanage had closed. It took Ada 2 weeks and 3 bus journeys to find the woman she was looking for. Her name was Mama Chiku, a former care worker at the orphanage who now sold second-hand clothes at a market 3 towns away. Ada sat across from her in a corner of a small canteen and told her the name she was looking for. Stella. Pause. Real name, Awele. Mama Chuka set down her cup of tea. Pause. She looked at Ada for a long moment. Whispers. Awele. Long pause. Yes. The old woman folded her hands. Pause. That child carried a wound I do not think ever healed. And then she told Ada the story. 25 years ago, a young girl named Ifunanya, 15 years old at the time, daughter of a local merchant, had falsely accused a boy at the orphanage of stealing from her family. The accusation was bold and confident and entirely fabricated. The boy, his name was Emarkima, was publicly shamed, humiliated before the other children, and told he would be sent away from the only home he had ever known. Long pause. 3 days later, Emarkima was found. He had taken his own life. He was 14 years old. Awele was Emarkiman's twin sister. She had been there when he died. She had watched the investigation closed, the accusation buried, and the girl who had lied, Ifunaya, go home to her comfortable family without consequence. And Awele had grown up in that orphanage, older, quieter, sharper, with one thing anchoring her. Pause. Firm voice. A plan. She had waited 20 years. She had tracked Ifunaya down. She had moved next door. She had watched. She had calculated. Long pause. And when the moment came, she had not raised her voice. She had used the daughters themselves as the weapon. Ada sat with that information for a long time. She turned it over. She tried to find a way it wasn't what it looked like. There was no other way it looked. Awele, Stella, had moved into their neighborhood deliberately. She had introduced herself into their lives at a precise, careful pace. And she had been doing something to Ifunaya for years. Something Ada had never suspected. The herbal drinks. Ada remembered them now. Stella, even before she moved into the compound, would sometimes bring drinks for the family when she visited. Bitter leaf concoctions. Good for blood pressure, she would say. Good for stress. Ifunaya had drunk them gratefully. She was always grateful for kindness. Ada went to a pharmacist she trusted. She described the pattern, a woman whose mental illness had seemed to worsen sharply in the years before her hospitalization. She described the drinks. She asked questions she was terrified to have answered. The pharmacist told her that several naturally occurring plants consumed regularly and in the right combinations could destabilize neurological function over time, particularly in someone already predisposed. Ada sat in her car outside the pharmacy and could not move for 20 minutes. Stella had not simply waited for a moment of weakness in their family. Stella had created the weakness. She had fed Ifunaya episodes, worse episodes, more frequent episodes, until the woman her husband married looked so broken that even her own daughters wanted her gone. Then she stepped in, warm, polished, ready. And the daughters, Ada, Kamsi, Nkiru, they had done exactly what Stella needed them to do. They had turned on their own mother. They had handed Stella the keys, and then they had watched their mother die. Ada came home to an empty house. Not metaphorically empty, physically empty. Stella was gone. She had packed everything worth taking and left in the night. The land documents, gone. The family savings accounts, cleared. The car that Mr. Okore had worked 10 years to own, gone. A long pause.
She had even taken the curtains Ifunanya had sent money from the hospital to buy. Mr. Okori sat in the stripped living room and stared at the wall. He was a man who had been emptied from the inside out. He had lost his wife, the real one, twice. Once to a facility, once to a grave. And now he had lost everything else to the woman he had been manipulated into trusting. Kamse sat on the floor of her bedroom and shook. And Kiru did not speak for 3 days. Ada stood in the middle of the compound and looked at the guest room at the back. The room they had given her mother. The room her mother had died in. And the weight of it arrived all at once. The full, crushing, irreversible weight of what they had done. Not Stella, not the plan, not the manipulation. What they had done. They had been the weapon. They had been the instrument of their own mother's destruction. They had looked into the face of a woman who loved them, who had stayed alive for them through every storm, and they had told her she was not worth the trouble. And she had believed them. A long pause. Stella was never found. The police case went cold. And Awele, the girl who had spent 20 years building a revenge so cold and so precise it had worked without a single raised hand, simply vanished. Back into a world that would never know her name.
I want to say something to you before I let this story go. Because it would be easy, too easy, to listen to this and walk away thinking that this is only a story about betrayal, about revenge, about a woman who did a terrible thing and got what was coming to her. But this story is not only about Ifunanya and Awele. Firm voice. This story is about what shame can do to a person. Pause. What shame can make children do to the parents who sacrificed everything for them.
Ada, Kamsi, and Nkiru did not set out to kill their mother, but they chose again and again to prioritize how things looked over who their mother was. They chose their own comfort over her dignity, their own social standing over her life. Mental illness is not a character flaw. It is not a moral feeling. It is not something a person does to you. It is something a person carries. And the people who love them either help carry it or they let go. Ifunanya's daughters let go, and they will spend the rest of their lives understanding what that cost. And to Awele, I do not excuse what she did. She used innocent people as pieces in a plan built from grief. She let 3 daughters destroy their relationship with their mother in order to destroy a woman who had already been destroyed by her own guilt long before Awele arrived. But I understand the hunger that lives in a 14-year-old girl who watches her brother die and watches the world move on without blinking. Justice, when it does not come, does not disappear. It goes underground. It grows roots. To everyone watching this who is in your own season of carrying someone, a parent, a partner, a child, who the world calls difficult, do not put them down. Not because they will always be grateful, not because it will be easy, but because who you are in the carrying will outlast every moment you are tempted to let go. And to anyone who has already let go, it is not too late to return. It is never too late to knock on a door you should never have closed.
If this story moved you, share it right now. Someone in your life needs to hear this today. Subscribe to Tales by RM for more stories that will stay with you long after the screen goes dark. Leave a comment below. What was the moment that hit you hardest? And what will you have done if you were Ada standing in that empty compound at the end?